Sponsored by Rabbi Shlomi and Mirla Greenwald. This is a Sicha in Likutei Sichos, Chelek Chof Alef, Parshas Bay Sicha Alef. The topic of the Sicha is that in this week's Parsha we learned that Moshe told Pare that Makas Becheres would be at Kachatzos Halaila. And Rashi brings two explanations for Kachatzos Halaila. And in the Sicha itself, the Rebbe will ask 5 questions on Rashi. He will explain what's really bothering Rashi, and based on this, all 5 questions will be answered. On the pasuk in our parsha related to Makas Pcheres, it says, "Vayemer Moshe." Moshe said, "Koi Omar Hashem." So did Hashem say, "Kachatzos halaylo, ani yetze b'seich Mitzrayim." Kachatzos halaylo, I am going out within Mitzrayim. So Rashi presents 2 explanations on the words Kachatzos halaylo. First, Rashi says that in Pshutei liyashvei al ofnov, so meaning the simple way of explaining the pasuk, Kachatzos halayla means kehi cholek halayla, as the night divides. And so it comes out that ein chatzos shem davar shel chatzi. It's not a noun, the time of chatzos, but rather it's an action. And Rashi brings a few examples how this is used elsewhere in other places in Tanakh. Then Rashi continues and presents a second pirush. He says, "Rabbi Seinu drushu k'may kiba chatzos halayla." Rabbi Seinu explained that it means like around chatzos halayla. Va'amru, and they explained, Sha'amar Moshe kachatzos, that Moshe Rabbeinu said kachatzos and not bachatzos, the mashma samuchlei, which implies that it's around and near the time of chatzos. The reason he said this is shemayitu itstagnine pare, maybe pares itstagninim. The astrologers would make a mistake, v'yemru Moshe badayu, and they would say Moshe is false. And Rashi concludes, according to a number of gersais, of Al Kadosh Baruch Hu Yadea Itav or Gov Amar Bachatzos. But Hashem, who knows all the times and all the moments, Hashem said Bachatzos. Only Moshe Rabbeinu said Kachatzos. The Mizrahi and other Mefarshim explain that the question that Rashi is coming to answer is the question, or similar to the question, that we find in the Gemara in Brachas. The Gemara asks, Mi ika sveka kame shmaya? Is there any doubt in front of Hashem? That is to say, kachatzos, around chatzos, as if he's not sure when it is. And in order to answer this question, Rashi gives 2 explanations. Either it means kehi cholek halayla, as the night is divided, and then it means exactly at chatzos, and there's no suffix over here whatsoever. Or it's not that there's a suffix chas v'shalom by Hashem, but rather Moshe Rabbeinu said kachatzos because of his concern about the itstagnine pari. And there are 5 questions over here. Number 1, why do we have to say that the kaf of kachatzos means that the time is in doubt, that the time is chatzos, and he said kachatzos because it's in doubt? Why don't we say that it's giving a defined time, and the defined time is kachatzos, near chatzos? That's when the makkah will happen. And the Rebbe is going to support this question by negating a possible answer. So that's why it's an arrow pointing upwards to indicate that it's supporting the question. So the simple reason for this, that we say kachatzos means that the time is in doubt, is because it says in the pasuk later by the makkah itself, "Vayihi b'chatzi halaylo v'Hashem hiko kol b'chor v'gemer," that it was exactly at chatzos that the makkah occurred. So we see that it wasn't around chatzos. However, it doesn't make sense that this is Rashi's reason, that Rashi gets it from that later pasuk, because then he would mention that pasuk, because we don't know of it yet. And this need for Rashi to mention that pasuk is especially emphasized since earlier in Parshas Lech Lecha, by the war that Avram waged against the 4 kings, on the pasuk Vayecholek Haleim Lailo, so Rashi says Shenechlek Halaylo, the night was divided, V'chetzia Sheni Nishmar, and the second half was Nishmar, saved, Lachatzos Lailo Shel Mitzrayim, for Chatzos Lailo of Mitzrayim, which indicates that it's not specifically right at Chatzos, but rather the whole second half of the night. So therefore, it seems, and what we see from here is that the need to say that Kachatzos means that the time is in doubt is not from that later pasuk, but from this pasuk itself. And the question is, why? Why do we have to say that from this pasuk itself? The second question is, why is the first explanation of Rashi better than the second explanation? That Rashi calls the second one a drash, and the first one is pshutai. And we can't say that the reason why the first pirush is better is because ein chatzais shem davar shel chatzi, because chatzais is not a shem davar shel chatzi, which that is the second pirush. And since ein chatzais shem davar shel chatzi, therefore the first one is pshutai, and the second one is a drash. And according to this, the Rebbe says the way we would read Rashi is zehu pshutai. This is pshutai. Liyashvei al ofnov, and you know why? Because she'ein chatzais shem davar shel chatzi. Because chatzais is not a shem davar shel chatzi. It's not a time of chatzais. Why can't we answer this? Because chatzais is mentioned twice elsewhere in Tanakh, and in both places it is shem davar shel chatzi. And if that's the case, so why is the second pirush that says that chatzais is shem davar shel chatzi? Why is that a drash? And according to this, the way we read Rashi is Zeu pshutai liyashvei al ofnov. This is the pshutai to explain it, not because she'ein chatzais shem davar shel chatzi, but that ein chatzais shem davar shel chatzi. The third question is, Rashi says in the second pirush that the reason Moshe Rabbeinu changed his words from saying bachatzais to kachatzos is because he was concerned that they're going to say Moshe badaihu. Moshe is false if they're not going to be able to see that it's the correct time. And the question is, why was this worry so strong that it brought Moshe Rabbeinu to change from bachatzais to kachatzos? Why was this such a strong worry of Moshe Rabbeinu? The fourth question is, why in the second pirush does Rashi conclude, but Hashem, who knows every moment and all the times, he told Moshe Rabbeinu bachatzais? Why don't we say that Hashem also told Moshe Rabbeinu kachatzais, and that's what he should tell Pari as well? Why do we have to say that Hashem said bachatzais? And even though that's what it says in the original teaching, but Rashi doesn't bring down all the things that are brought down in the original teachings. He just brings down what's relevant in Pshuta Shel Mikra. So why in Pshuta Shel Mikra does Rashi learn that Hashem said something different than Moshe Rabbeinu did, and Moshe Rabbeinu changed from what Hashem told him? And the fifth question is, why is the Dibra Maschel of Rashi, why does Rashi include in the Dibra Maschel both words Kachatzos Halaila? He should have just written Kachatzos. That's the only word that he's coming to explain. Now we're going to have a lead up into the answer. Over here we're going to establish what it is that's bothering Rashi. And once we understand what it is that's bothering Rashi, then we'll understand what Rashi says. So we'll understand all of this by explaining the words in Rashi. Rashi says, Zehu pshutei liyashvei al ofnov. The first answer is the pshutei liyashvei al ofnov. And the question is, why doesn't Rashi say, as he often does, Zehu pshutei, Rabbeinu darshu? It doesn't say Zehu pshutei liyashvei al ofnov. So with this, Rashi is telling us, he's telling us what question he's coming to answer. He's telling us that the difficulty with the words Kachatzos Halaila, the difficulty isn't because of the meaning of the word Kachatzos, and not either that it's hard to explain Hashem saying Kachatzos around Chatzos. What is the difficulty here? But rather because of its meaning in the context of the current discussion. That's the issue over here. Understanding Kachatzos Halaila in the context of the discussion. What's the question? When reading the pasuk, there's a simple question over here. Why does it matter that Hashem will go out Kachatzos Halaila? That's the question. And we'll see what's bothering Rashi with that. And we can't say it's in order to inform Pari the time of the Makkah, because Hashem didn't usually do so. And even in the three Makkahs, when Hashem did inform the time of the Makkah, so twice he only informed the day of the Makkah, not the time in the day. And once by Barid, when he said Ka'es Machar, he gave the time, there was a purpose for it. It was so those who feared Hashem can bring in their animals. And over here the question is especially strong because Hashem only said Kachatzos Halaila. Moshe Rabbeinu only told Pari Kachatzos Halaila. He didn't say of which night. So especially since which day it was going to be wasn't even mentioned. So what's the point of mentioning over here Kachatzos Halaila? So we must say It's not to inform them the set time of the makkah, but rather it's about the way and the quality of the makkah. It brings out the quality of this makkah. Kachatzos Halaila emphasizes and reveals that it's ani yotze. And like we see in the words, Vayemer Moshe Koi Omer Hashem, Kachatzos Halaila ani yotze. The Kachatzos Halaila emphasizes that it's ani Hashem himself that's yotze, that's going out. And now the question that Rashi has, this is all self-understood, that Kachatzos Laila has to be in order, because we don't need the time. We don't have to know the time over here. What's the point of saying Kachatzos Laila? To bring out that this is coming from Hashem himself. And on this, Rashi has a question. What's the question? What is special about Kachatzos Laila, around Chatzos? How does that bring out Ani Yetze? It's around Chatzos. And to the contrary, after getting an exact time by Barad, this actually has the opposite effect. It's only around Chatzos. We're not getting an exact time over here. And so this is the question that Rashi has. The first answer is in the Pshutei, liyashvei al ofnov, to fit it into this understanding that for sure Kachatzos Halaila is trying to bring out Ani Yetze, and the question is, how does it do so? So already with this, we answer the fifth question. Why is the Dibra Maschel, both words, Kachatzos Halaila? Because that's what's relevant over here, saying the time. Now regarding the question that's bothering Rashi, how does Kachatzos Halaila, around Chatzos Halaila, bring out Ani Yotze? Because of this difficulty, therefore Rashi says, Kehei Chelek Halaila, which brings out the exactness of the time, which brings out Ani Yotze. Because Kehei Chelek Halaila means two things. It means, number one, an action, as the night divides, and number two, it means an akuda of time, a point of time. There's no actually substance or quantity of time in it, because if there was any substance and quantity of time, then you have to divide that further and put one half into the first half of the night and the second half into the second half of the night. So Kei Chelek Halaila is a point of time that transcends any substance of time and any quantity of time, and so that really brings out Ani Yotze. It's a point of time that transcends any continuation of time. However, there is a question over here. There are two questions here. Number one, why say Kachatzos, which can mean two things? You better say Bachatzos. Why say Kachatzos, which can mean Kei Chelek Halaila or around Chatzos? And also, when the explanation to say Kei Chelek Halaila, it needs two proofs. Rashi brings two proofs in his Pirush. We didn't mention them. That Kachatzos can mean Kei Chelek Halaila, and neither of the proofs are perfect, as the Rebbe mentions that in both of them, even though it relates to the idea of an akuda, but those over there, after the akuda, there is a continuation of substance and quantity. Over here, there isn't. So because of these two questions, number one, why say a word that can mean two things? And in order to say it means what you're going to choose, you have to bring two proofs that aren't perfect. When you could say Bachatzos, which is very clear, because of these two questions, therefore Rashi brings a second explanation, which doesn't fit with Pshat, but it does fit with Rash, and that is that Hashem said Chatzos, and Moshe Rabbeinu said around Chatzos. But also according to this explanation, we have to say that Hashem said Chatzos. That's where Rashi finishes off. Hashem said Chatzos, because otherwise there's no need to say the time. Hashem did say Chatzos, so that brings out Ani Yotze. It's just that Moshe Rabbeinu switched and said around Chatzos because of his concern, and now we could also understand the concern, because when we're talking about an exact time, then there's a high likelihood that they would make a mistake. But this is also why it's a drash. Why is it a drash? Because in Pshat it doesn't say anything about Hashem and Moshe saying different things. And so with this, we really answer all the questions. We answer why we're not going to say that Kachatzos is a time around Chatzos, because that won't bring out the Ani Yotze. We answer why the first answer is better than the second answer. The first answer brings out even more the Kei Chelek Halaila, that it's a point of time. Also the second answer, it comes out according to it that Moshe and Hashem said different things, and we have no indication of that in the Pshat of the Psukim. We understand why Moshe was concerned of Badoihu, because it's a hard thing to figure out the exact moment. We also understand why we're not going to say Hashem said Kachatzos, because then there's no point. There's no point in having the time. And we also understand why the Dibra Maschel is Kachatzos Halaila, because that's what Rashi is coming to explain here, the uniqueness of mentioning the time. The Sicha concludes with two more points, and we'll mention them briefly. So one of them is supporting everything that's saying here by negating a question, and that is there's seemingly a difficulty over here that completely negates the first explanation, and that is since Chelek is in a kudah of time that only Hashem is able to identify, nobody else is able to do it. So what's the purpose of informing Pari and his Khartumin and all of Mitzrayim of this time? It doesn't have any benefit. They're not going to appreciate it. And so this is answered by Rashi bringing at length the words of the Medrash in his second explanation, that the Medrash over there mentions Itztagnine Pare, the astrologers, that are not mentioned in the Psukim here, but the Medrash mentions them, and Rashi brings this part of the Medrash in. The reason he does this is because they did have the ability to identify even a point in time. There's one final side point over here, which doesn't fit with what we said until now, and that is that we can say that Rashi, with the words Aval Kadosh Baruch Hu Yedeh Itav Urgov Amar Bachatzos, Rashi over here is alluding to another teaching of his that has very similar words but adds something to it. On Vayechal Elokim Bayim Shvi, Rashi says Hakadosh Baruch Hu Sheyedeh Itav Urgov Nichnas Bay Kechut Asayra. He adds on the words Nichnas Bay Kechut Asayra. So we can say that with Rashi over here saying Hakadosh Baruch Hu Yedeh Itav Urgov, he's alluding to the other place where it says Hakadosh Baruch Hu Sheyedeh Itav Urgov, where there you have added Kechut Asayra. That Kechut Asayra is, like we were saying, in a kudah of time. There's no substance to it whatsoever. It's not even the amount that's found in a rega. That about a rega, it says in the Gemara and Brachas that Bilam was able to identify a rega. This is even less than a rega. This is a chut asayra, which is something that only Hashem is able to do.